Hello and welcome to the Mindset and Mindfulness podcast with me, your host, Sandy Powell. Today's guest is Lorena Alegre. She's a phenomenal coach located on a beautiful island and off the coast of Spain, close to Barcelona. I had to look it up. She has two small children, a boy and a girl. Please welcome Lorena.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Sandy, for having me.
Yes.
It's gonna be good.
Yes, it's actually so fun because we actually connected through book club, but we never really had a real conversation. So I'm excited to get to know you a bit more.
Yeah, me too.
So yes, of course, I had to look around Facebook to see what can I find out and before the conversation. So, and I saw that you've moved around quite a bit.
Yes, it's crazy because I actually through my life I've moved a lot, but I landed in Paris, and there I met my husband, and with him because of his work we would move around a lot. And because I have the flexibility of, what I was always changing things in my life career-wise, I was able to move along with him. So we did Paris, we did, with the same, his same company he was working with. We did Paris, we did New York, we did Ibiza, then back to Paris. And then at some point we lived in Bordeaux. It was also in France, and then we back to Paris, and then we kind of like back and forth in Ibiza because it was a seasonal job. So at some point we had our first daughter, and we had to kind of like settle a little bit more because you cannot move around that much with a kid. I mean, you can, but we chose not to.
A bit harder, yeah.
And then we went to LA because he changed jobs. So we went to LA when she was 3 months. And then we were there, and when the pandemic hit, we decided to move closer to Europe and to be closer to his parents, which were living here in Menorca at the time. They decided to retire here. And we said, okay, well, all this craziness happens, let's just go there, be there, and then we'll see what we do and where we go. And we just stay here, really.
There you go. But that's nice.
Yeah. It is a beautiful place to live. It's an island in the Mediterranean. It's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, and the weather, like everything, is really nice. But once you actually live here and as an expat, it's really hard. I thought because it was Spain, they would speak Spanish as a first language, and they actually speak Catalan, Menorquí, which is a form of Catalan. So now my daughter and son, they're learning Catalan in school. I have to start learning Catalan now with my husband because, if you want to really be part of the community, you really do have to speak their language, even though they speak Spanish really well. So for me, it was like a culture shock. It's an island, so everything is, like a small town. Everyone knows everyone. You cannot say or do things because then that person might know the other person or someone. So it's very like that. So that's been challenging, but the setting for the kids is absolutely great. It's quiet, there's nature. So that's why we're still here, really.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. But your hometown was Mexico, yes?
Yes, Mexico. I'm originally from Mexico, yeah. Yeah, I haven't lived there in a while.
Well, yes. That's so cool. Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of us, even though like we haven't really lived me, yes, per se, because I'm originally from Germany, and then I moved to the States, and I met my husband here and kind of stuck around.
Yeah, exactly.
But we did a lot of traveling, especially before my daughter, also with my daughter, but like especially before my daughter, we got a lot of traveling done, and it's nice to get all the different vibes, the different it's really cool. But yes, now that we're with my daughter, since my daughter's born, and the pandemic, she was like born, in 2020. So yes, we also had to kind of
wait for see what's going to happen. Yeah, is the war going to end, or we can carry on.
We were traveling up until like we were on a cruise during that Christmas, New Year's, and then we were in Iceland that February, like right before everything slowed down. Like she was basically made in Iceland. And then yes,
Yeah.
then everything boom. And literally I found out
Yeah.
I was pregnant, and then like a week later, like the office was closed and things was going
Yeah.
down. Like it was really crazy.
Yeah. It was crazy. But, now we have like a war story, that we can tell our kids, like, yeah, I
Oh
lived
yeah.
through a pandemic, you don't know what life is like now. You have it good now, like we have like a story to tell.
Yes, yes, yes. When was your second child born? Was it also
So no, so he was born in 2021. Yeah. So
okay? So it was already a bit better then.
a little bit better. Yeah. It was a little bit better. And, here in the island, because it's an island, you're kind of like isolated in your own way. So it wasn't as hard as in other places, like the restrictions and everything. So,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
yeah,
say, I think that was part of my, yeah, I was a little bit sad, like because I couldn't bring my husband to any of my appointments and things like that, right? Like, and, nobody could come to visit. I had to literally have the mask, the first thing they did was like, test us both for COVID and stuff. I mean, like, it just added so many layers to,
yeah,
the pregnancy and the baby having the baby, my family
yeah,
couldn't visit and things like that. It was just a little bit sad. I think,
yeah.
like
No,
what you
it was
have in your
hard.
head
Yeah,
a little bit, right? Like when you get pregnant and it's a joyous occasion and you want to share and do things. And it was all like, okay, like
yeah.
you
It
have
was. I think it's
to come
so
and
hard for everyone. Yeah,
yeah. So
especially for moms. Yeah,
yeah. But of course, yeah, it's better now. So
yeah.
ah yes. So you support mamas in their daily struggles, right? You're a coach.
Yes. So the whole thing is, like, to summarize, is I help moms now with toddlers and preschoolers, because that's the age, the developmental age that I love and I have a lot of experience with.
Right,
And my goal is to help them stop losing their cool and
right,
start parenting consciously. So with less guilt, more patience, and especially more joy. I think for some moms, we lose the joy in motherhood. We're in survival mode the whole time, and you kind of lose the joy of just being a mom and enjoying your kids.
right.
So that's the goal for now.
Yes. No, that sounds beautiful. And it's part of what I'm trying to do as well.
Yeah.
But how did you get there? How did you become?
Well, for me, it's funny because when I became a mom, like I worked with kids for 15 years. So I thought, being a mom is going to be
You're
so
a
easy
teacher?
because I was a teacher. I was like as an assistant in daycare. Like I worked always with kids under 5 years old. I was a babysitter. I was an au pair. Like all my life evolved. I was a camp counselor at some point. I did so many things around kids. Um, that when I said, when I'm going to become a mom, it's going to be so easy because I have all this experience. It's just I can return them now, but like I'll make it. It's fine. But then I actually became the mom that I feared because I really lost myself in the first years of motherhood. So we relocated overseas when my daughter was born. She was 3 months, and I didn't have a village. It was just me and my husband, and he worked really, really long hours. So I was by myself with her most of the time. And I still remember in like our little apartment in LA, and I was putting my daughter to sleep, and I just sat on the ground and I was crying, and I was just feeling so tired and so alone. And I was whispering, like everything's gonna be okay, you'll be fine. But really, I wasn't. And it was one dinner with my husband that actually changed everything. He made, a harmless joke, and that led to a big argument. I got very defensive, and in a very loving tone, he said, "You need help, and I cannot help you. Like I just can't. You need to see someone that I can actually have the tools to help you."
Yes.
So the truth was that I was sinking into depression. Like the signs were subtle but persistent, and I thought, I wanted to be okay. So I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. But I wasn't. Like my focus was entirely on my daughter. her needs, my household duties. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and I was kind of battling the shame of that I felt of being just a stay-at-home mom. Like I didn't have a career, I was just a stay-at-home mom. And I wanted to be a good wife and the best mom because that was my job. So I think there was a lot of pressure that I put myself like I did it to myself, there was no pressure for my husband. It was just me putting all this pressure on myself. And that dinner like really was my wake up call. So I decided to seek help. The first thing I did was therapy, of course, because I think that's the first go to. And then I did a program with Tony Robbins that really brought me back into like mindset and empowerment and all this. I did programs, I did books, I did the podcast, like everything, all the information I could get. And then I did a coach training that really pieced everything together. And I realized that, well, actually remember, because this is something I used to do when I was younger, is that, my thoughts and my emotions have the bigger impact in my life. And then, so when I had my second child, things were different because I was able to, like practice self-care without the guilt, well, so much guilt, because there's always a little bit of guilt, but I was feeling better. I learned about my warning signs, if I was not feeling well. I learned to manage my thoughts, my emotions, and I really strengthened my connection with my family, with my husband, with myself. And I realized that, I wanted to start work. And I was going to go back to kids because, that's my background. But then I realized that the best way to help kids is to help moms first, because they are actually the pillar of the family and, the way I see it. And sometimes they suffer so much. And with that pillar is not strong enough, the whole family system suffers. So I said, whatever it has helped me be a better mom and be better with my kids, have a better connection and a better relationship, I can share that. And if I help the moms, then I'll be helping the kids as well, because they're going to be growing in a better environment, which later on will reflect in school, in their relationships with their families, so I started, diving into motherhood, like all this, and yeah, it was great. It's been a lot of learning for myself as a mom, as a coach, and working with moms as well. It's great.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I see so many similarities. Because I was a teacher too. Like my whole life has been around kids as well. Plenty of different, like baby swimming, and yes, also the counselor and teacher. And yeah, I've also had contact with, children with disabilities, with blindness and things like that. So I mean, I was like a lot, and I always wanted to kind of stay in that field a bit too.
Yeah.
But yes, with my daughter, I also found, I was struggling. I was really struggling. I also had the thought like, oh, I've got this. And people around me were like, well, you've been with kids forever. Like, you've got this, right?
Yeah,
like that was
go,
also
right?
reflected to me. Like, you're so good with all the kids, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're going to be doing this in your sleep.
Yeah.
And while I did have more, I guess, of an idea of what I wanted and what I didn't want, right? More than maybe some others, but there was still the struggle of, my gosh, like my whole life changes from being, like more or less single, or like just me and my husband, right? Like, we've been married for such a long time. And then introduced the child, right? So that was a difference. And like with the whole COVID thing. And then I also went back to work. And that, my husband was traveling a lot, me by myself, trying to put it all together. I mean, it was, it was so challenging, so challenging. And my work wasn't supportive enough, so that I actually ended up quitting after, like right around 6 months. Like I just can't, like it was just too much. And I didn't want to choose. I didn't want to feel like I was, like I wanted to be with my daughter. I also wanted to do my job, but it was too hard. Like my boss, everything it was so much struggle that I decided that's too much. And I don't, Yeah, it was
Yeah, when
taking
you
a
have
toll, too
exactly.
much
Yeah.
on my family, on me, and the balance, and especially because there was the support was so lacking. Like I got more quote unquote shit from work, like my boss was
Yeah.
more poking at me rather than supporting my already struggling existence,
Yes,
like he was
exactly.
making it worse, or like others too. And it was just, I just was like,
It's
no,
not
I
worth it.
just can't.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like it is just a job. I need to figure it out in a different way. And yeah, it's been
Yeah,
a journey.
yeah, you see the lack of support for moms that that they get, and why sometimes it is so hard
Yes.
to not to bring all your struggles and stress and challenges into your parenting,
Yeah.
where that's where it reflects. Because most of the times, all the adverse and all the negative energy that you have is not because of your kids being kids, is because of everything you're carrying along with you,
Mhm.
and that is that's tough.
Yes. So true. Yes, yes. Yeah, that's why it's been a long journey for me as well. I had to, yeah, found myself right more crying and I don't know, exploding or just feeling so overwhelmed and things like that. And I had to come to the realization I need help too. I need to figure something out. I need to, yeah, make time for myself and lose a whole lot of the, yes, I want to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife. And I need to handle all this so much more gracefully and stuff, right? Like that was part of the first thing, like realizing I needed help, right? And like really reaching out or trying to work on it, starting the
Yeah,
journey, and then
exactly. Starting the journey, I think that's important.
dropping
Yeah.
dropping a whole bunch of things that I put on myself. I mean, yes, obviously I got them, you know, probably reflected, right? Society always puts so much on us, it seems like, right? And it's you don't really push back right away, right? You have to get to
Yeah.
your breaking point or something. Something has to give. Like you have to get to that point where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, something got to give. Something isn't right. I
It's not
can't do
working.
it
Yeah.
all, right?
Yes.
And yeah, and then just kind of go from there. Like, what is it that really speaks to me? Like, what is it that I want in my life, right? Like, do I,
Yeah.
like, is this hindering me, like, from having a good life, right? My
Yeah.
negative voice, like the way I talk to myself, right? Like,
Yeah.
or is it helping me? And so I really, yeah,
Yeah.
did a
Because
lot of
at the end,
soul searching too.
yeah, because at the end, our voice, our dialogue becomes our kids' dialogue. So,
Yes.
what is it that you want them to tell themselves? What example are you giving? What
Mhm.
like how do you want them to grow up? How to grow up to be?
Right. Right.
And I always think about that now because I mean, not too much because then the pressure is like a lot of everything you're doing will screw them up somehow.
Right.
But I try to do it in a way that okay, so my choices are important. So if I can be a little bit more mindful of things, then they're gonna be a little bit better than how I was raised, and like breaking a little bit the generational cycles in a way. We cannot do it from one day to another and change everything, but we can just do a little bit better, I think, and then every generation will do better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. That's definitely my goal there as well. Really just
Yeah.
a little bit better, exactly. And live as a good role model, right? Like you can be a mom and you can be, at work, or you can choose what you want in life. You can choose what you want to
Yeah.
be when you grow up, like you don't have to follow. You can kind of go with your own heart, follow your own drum.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely something I want to
Pass on.
transfer to my daughter, right? Because that was like a big thing for me too. Like I just, yeah,
Yeah.
stepping out of that role of, like being employed and being, like doing the 8 to 5 and things like that. Just going my own way, doing my own path, even though people are like, oh my God, what you doing? How do you? And the feeling of like just being a mother, right? The
Yes.
just thing, like I've heard that term a lot as
Yeah.
well, like from friends and things too.
Yes.
And it really, you gotta push back on that because being a mom is the one of the most important jobs. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying, right, like there's not other jobs, and I wanna, right, fulfill my dreams too. And I wanna work and I wanna, right, like
Yeah.
be Sandy and have the identity of the working me, right? Follow my purpose, align with, like my hopes and dreams. But I want to align that with being a mom and bring it all together and also show my daughter you can do, yeah, like both, whatever you choose. You could be a
Yeah.
mom, you can be, a working mom, you can be whatever you choose to be. You can also be not a mom at all, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever you want to be, if that's right, not something that's you're hoping to be, that's cool too.
Yeah.
Just kind of go with whatever floats your boat instead of like what somebody tells you. I think that's the
Yeah.
most important part, right? Like whether,
Yeah.
all your friends or all your family or whoever is around you, right? Is doing this or doing that, but like really kind of like, nope, this is
Yeah.
you, and that's fine. You do whatever floats your boat, and I'm doing me. However imperfectly I'm doing it, but
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's the goal, to really become their own persons. I mean, their person, and to be, um, I mean, for us to be with the example of being our own person and following the things we love and being, fulfilled, and for them to see that and see, okay, that's something I can do. And my mom did it, and I can do it too. There's no pressure, there's no expectations, and
right.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, that authentic living, and that there's nothing, you don't need to give up anything, right? Like
Yeah.
you might be struggling here or there, you have to figure things out, but you can. You are the
Yeah.
only one that can. That's something too. Oh, yes. Um, So, what are some strategies that help you in your daily life that keep you focused, that keep you, because you said, right, like you're trying to help moms not lose their cool. So, how do you help that, or how have you found yourself being supported in some of the strategies? What rituals do you use to help you, and then maybe transfer that to other people? How can you?
Well, I have to say, I recently discovered that I have ADHD, so routines and consistency is something I struggle with. I try to do like the journaling every morning. I try to do the exercising every morning. I try to do the morning routine, the nighttime routine, like, and it works for a little bit, but then kind of like crumbles apart because, I have a hard time doing that.
Right.
But what I've noticed that really helps is in the moments where I'm about to yell at my kids or that I'm feeling overwhelmed. That the first thing is to have awareness, to notice those moments. Because if you don't notice those moments, to just, pass through them. So for me, is having that awareness that, okay, I'm about to scream. I can feel my body tensing up. I can feel, the volcano about to erupt. So that's a moment. And then I pause myself. I take a step back and I breathe. And I know a lot of people say, yeah, you have to breathe. And yeah, breathing doesn't help. But for me, what I do when I breathe is, I let the magic of the breathing happen, like whatever the breathing does in my body, it's great. But it's more like a grounding moment to say, okay, I really don't want to scream at my kids. My kids are having a hard time. So it gives me that pause to kind of like reposition myself in how I want to respond and not to just react. So
Mm-hmm.
I do my breathing, and I do a simple like belly breathing, which is, inhale into your belly for, I do 4 seconds. I hold it for 2, and then I breathe out for 6 seconds. So that thing of counting brings me into the, okay, just calm down, breathe, what's happening with you. And then it gives me that, as I said, that pause to then say, okay, what's happening with my kids? It's not an emergency. I can figure it out. Let's see what's really going on, and then go to a place of curiosity instead of just judging exactly like what's happening. You just come into a room and they're screaming, and you started screaming at them. You didn't even know what's happening. Like, okay, let's just get curious and see what's happening here. How can we handle this? Like, I see a lot of things happening. I hear the screaming. So breathing, that pausing moment to breathe, is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also another big thing I do is movement. um, when you learn that emotions get stored in your body, like, I'm not going to go too much into it, but we can actually change our thoughts a little, but our emotions get like a little stuck in our body. So in order to change our state of mind, we have to move our body. Like, so important to that energy kind of like release. So if you're feeling anger, is not suppressing the anger, saying, no, I'm not angry, I'm not going to scream, I'm not angry, like I cannot be angry. Is okay, I'm feeling very angry. So I go to my room, I punch a pillow, I scream into a pillow. And I've done it a lot of times when I'm about to scream, but we come back to that awareness. I go into my room, I start punching the pillow, and I start screaming into the pillow, and I release all that anger, all that emotion. And then I can go back and be like, okay, now I feel better now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's happening here. And other times is just I've learned now that somatic uh, movements, like shaking your body, like they'd say when animals are being, chased and they slow down after the chase, they shake their body, it's kind of like releasing that tension. So
Mm-hmm.
shaking my body. I love to dance, just put some music. When everything is going crazy, I just put on some music and I start dancing very silly and I just moving my body. That do that for me. But then for my kids, they're like, okay, mommy, what's mommy doing? What's happening? Is she losing it? Like, have we lost her? Like, but then it changes the energy.
Right.
You stop focusing on everything that is going wrong, everything that like all the emotions that it just kind of like gives like a breaking point to say, okay, let's just let's shake the energy, let's move to a different thing, and then we can talk about it, and then we can use the strategies to deal with whatever is happening. I also love tapping, the EFT tapping. I do that more in like mornings, like because it's really quick. It really connects mind and body. It really helps with a lot of things, but I do that more like not in a stressful time, but in like a kind of like a daily kind of routine kind of thing that I actually love to do. Um, and walking, obviously, just take a walk. Like you're angry, just take a walk, even if it's around your house, like even if it's around the, like pacing in the kitchen, like, just movement really, really, really help us change that state. And I think that's really what helps me, um, get through my day in when they're hard, like really hard or challenging moments.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yes, there's some really good things in there. Wow. Oh, yeah, I had to wait until the end. But so yes, because I was thinking, so when you said at first you said, right, we becoming aware,
Yeah.
because that took a while for me, right? Like
Yeah.
finding that pausing moment, because like for me, right, I was triggered at 15 different things at the same time, so that pause thing was always so me,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, oh, like people were always talking about, yeah, you have to choose to respond and you have to pause. And I was like, but I am so triggered. Like I am,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like so super calm and I'm doing, I don't know, dinner. And before I know it, something happens and
Yeah.
and I was like, where's the pause? How do I install the pause button? I don't know. So that for me was like the longest. Like I read books and I did so many things trying to figure
Yeah.
out how to get to the pause.
Yeah.
Find the awareness, like where
To
is
stop.
it,
Yeah.
like what is triggering me, how do I feel, like these check-ins. And I used to just I think trying to do the check-ins more frequently, because like I was, I guess, so out of sync, right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I had like these, I don't know, let's say three emotions, right? Like happy, sad, angry or something, right? And
Yeah.
over time, the more I pay attention to, okay, so how am I feeling now? And an hour later, and just the curiosity of things led me then to the awareness, okay, like I'm more in touch with myself and I can tap into things. I am more aware of, okay, like when I get angry or when I am tired, I am hungry, and that's when I get more flustered, or I lose
Yeah.
my composure more easily and things like
Yes.
that. But like really focusing more on me, like I had lost touch with myself, right? Like I think that was the
Yeah.
big picture, and like really whatever I was doing, like I think in our society we also want things to happen right now. Like you want
Yes.
a quick solution, and it is
Quick
just
fix.
not quick. Yeah, it just isn't
No.
quick. Like it is really something you have to work on, practice, especially because we are so out of touch, right? Like we are so out of
Yeah.
touch with ourselves and what's happening, that it really takes a lot of practice to get back to the awareness. And that is the most important thing, right? What you
Yeah.
come back to is the fundamental thing. You need to be aware so
Yeah.
that you
Those are the bases. Yeah.
yeah. But yes, I do also like the tapping, and um I do some journaling and stuff. But yes, for me it's infrequent. I mean, like I try to, of course, do it in the mornings, but there's of course mornings where it just doesn't happen, and I give myself the grace and be like, okay, I'll try to again tomorrow. But I also
Yeah.
do recognize I do better. Like I just
Yeah.
do, but my day is working better. I can keep my cool better if I have
Yeah.
taken care of myself first. If I had the
Yeah.
exercise or the walk or the journaling or the tapping, I took the moment, let's just say. And
Yeah.
knowing that helps me then to really try and make it a priority and put it back in the next day or whenever I can
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like you're noticing that you're about to explode, that you had a stressful day at work, or that something happened with your partner. You know you're not in a good mood, so you're aware of it, and you can say, okay, what do I need right now for my afternoon to go better? Okay, I need to take 5 minutes in my
Mhm.
room, listen to a song, sing with the to the top of my lungs, and let it out. Like you have to find that moment to say, okay, my morning has been crap. Like it's been horrible. I've had fought with my husband. The kids were, awful. Work didn't go well. Now, do I want to continue my day to be like this? Because the kids are coming back from school. Like in my case, the
Mhm.
kids are coming back to school. Like, do I want to carry on with this energy? No. Like I really don't. Like I want to enjoy the afternoon. I want to have a good time. So what do I need to do right now in 10 minutes? Because sometimes that's the only time we have. Okay, 10 minutes. So when I'm picking up my kids in the car, I'm the crazy person with the music, really loud, and I'm driving and singing and I'm screaming and so I let it out. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I see my kids and I'm smiling and I'm happy and I'm like, okay, we're turning this day around.
Yes.
So, and then yes, they're gonna have a tantrum. Yes, they're gonna, have a fight or something is gonna happen. But then I kind of like reset my energy somehow
Right.
a little bit. So
Yes.
I'm more like, okay, no, we're turning this day around. Let's carry on, let's continue instead of just, being surviving every moment that is happening, dragging all the energy, dragging all the.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
it's
That's
hard. It is
good.
hard because there's so much going on in our lives, and it's just another thing you have to think about. But it's one of the important ones.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes. The realization that you are in you're the driver. You can change your energy, your state at any
yes,
moment. You choose to, right? Like that is
yeah,
something. Because like yes, before like my daughter, for example, right? Like, yeah, I was more like, I need to make it through my day. I need to make it just a little bit more, just a little bit more. And then the timer
they go to
stops and I
sleep, and
can
then
finally go home and I can watch, I don't know, right? Like
yeah,
there was always like that, exactly the survival state, right? Like I've had a
yeah,
bad day, I've had a bad day. And I really didn't stop and think like, okay, what can I do? I mean, sometimes, right? I went for a
yeah,
lunch walk or I was like, well, my day is really bad. I'm gonna go and treat myself to a chai latte at Starbucks.
yeah,
It's whatever made me feel a little right better.
yeah,
But for most of the time, I really just was like, yes, carrying it on, right? Until I finally got home and I was like, wow, that was just a crappy day. And
yeah,
let's watch some Netflix. I don't know, right? And
yeah,
just kind of tune
yeah,
it out or
yeah,
something.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Whereas today I'm
Or
much
or
more
yeah,
aware of it, like, okay,
yeah,
this was stressful or a challenging situation. And why was that? Right? Like I was confronted with something, this person or a new skill that I had to master or whatever, right? Whatever it
yeah,
was, traffic. I mean, whatever it is, but like really feeling into that and giving myself the grace, like that is okay that I have challenging situations. I would be right helping my daughter too, or any friend and be like, hey, that was a challenging situation. Don't be so hard on
yeah,
yourself. Take a moment, right? Like it is okay. We are
yeah,
not always happy. We're not always in an amazing state. That's just the fact, right? And even if you
yeah,
meditate and do all the different things, you have so many different things in your toolbox, but you still gonna, right? Life still throws things at
yeah,
you, still an up and
yeah.
down, and you have to choose every time to how do I respond,
How do I
recognize it,
respond?
and
Yeah,
come back to yourself and how do I change it? What do I want to do differently? And yes, me too. Music is a big, big part of my life. And yes, I used to, yes, sit in the drop off or in the, before I drop my daughter back off from school and just be like,
yeah,
okay, I need to really change this. I want her to, right? Like
yeah,
she's missed me. She was away from me. I want to make sure I present her with the
yeah,
best version of me and not
yeah,
with with all the crap that just happened when she was
yeah,
not with me.
yeah.
So
Yeah, because
that was,
sometimes, the kid is really going to be kids, but if we're not in a good, we have carrying all this, crappy energy. As soon as they do something, you don't have that chance to react, to respond. You just react into, like, oh my God, I told you not to, drop the glass of milk. And it's just a glass of milk. It was an accident. It was just not intentional. But you get so like angry because now you have to clean the mess and you've been, doing all this stuff. And then there's one more thing. And instead of saying, hey, it's just milk.
yes,
It's
yes,
just, it's just a glass. It's okay. Let's clean it up and let's move on.
yes.
And that's the difference I've noticed when I'm doing well and I'm taking care of myself and I'm taking those moments and my reactions to all these like simple things are way more like
Calm
cool,
down.
than, like all these, reactions into, no, I told you and this and that. And it's always, this energy. And unfortunately, yeah, they get affected by it. So when you think, okay, I want my kid to see me as human as I am, and yes, I make mistakes, and yes, I'm going to lose my cool. But if instead of losing it 10 times a day, I do it five,
Mhm.
then that's a big win. And then instead of doing five, I do three, that's pretty cool. Like it's working towards, doing better, not being perfect. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And it's good to bring them along too, right? Like, I mean, I've noticed that a lot with my daughter, right? I'm trying to tell her, hey, like I am still learning new things, right? Because sometimes she gets so frustrated. Oh, and I'm just like, oh, I wish I was an adult already. I wish I would know all these things. I want to do all these things too. Why am I always the littlest one, kind of thing? And I'm trying, like, hey, mommy and daddy are still learning new things. Other people learn new things. We learn for the rest of our lives. Like, it's not like, yes, I know in the beginning when you're little, like it seems like, you have a lot more to learn. And, I was little too, at some point. Like I had to learn all these things too. But, before long, you learn how to read, you learn how to ride your bike, and you learn all these things. Like just patient, but patience obviously is not
It's not a thing with
not
kids
quite
now.
big there yet, right? Uh, but yes,
Yeah.
just also bring her along, or I'm telling her like, hey, like, yes, this was really frustrating to me, or mommy isn't feeling well, and I really try to be very vocal about things, like my feelings
Yeah.
too, like so I can bring her along, like, hey, like, look, daddy isn't feeling well, or hey, mommy isn't feeling well, or we've had like some stress at work, or hey, it's been a challenging morning for all of us. Why don't we all, take a moment, or hey, I don't know. Yeah. What do what should we do? Should we, wiggle and dance? Do you want to go to the playground and reconnect? Like, so like I'm trying to bring her along with that too. Or I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I really would like to do some yoga. I need to kind of calm down, or I need to feel a little better. And sometimes she's like, oh, I want to join in. I want to do some yoga too.
Yeah.
And other times
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I'll just be in my room and stuff. But I
Yeah.
feel like that bringing along part has become like really
Yeah.
helpful, right? Like
Yeah.
just
It's communication at the end. The better you communicate how you're feeling, even with your partner. Like I sometimes when I'm having a really bad day with the kids, I text him and I say, you know what, it's been horrible, just so you know, so that he knows that when he comes home, maybe he cannot just sit and relax and take some time. It's like, okay, what's happening? How can I help you?
right.
And if we don't do that, if we don't tell our kids, hey, it's not your fault, mom is just having a really bad day. So
Hmm.
it's not your fault that I'm reacting like this. I'm
Hmm.
working on it. I'm working on my emotions too, but I'm having a really bad day and I was feeling frustrated. It's not okay to yell at you. Like whatever we're doing, it's communicating
Hmm.
our state there so that later on, I always see it as planting the seeds.
Hmm.
You're planting the seed on how to communicate better. You're planting the seed on how to respond better. You're planting the seed because the kids learn more of how we actually act and do than how we tell them to do things.
Yeah.
So, I'm always planting seeds and I'm hoping that, whenever they grow up, they grow up to have all these things as well, saying, oh yeah, I remember my mom doing this, I remember my mom doing that.
Right.
I know for myself that my mom didn't have all these tools, and
Hmm.
she parented very differently, and her struggles were real and very, very difficult. But I didn't understand that as a kid. So I always thought that some of the things were my fault, and some of the things were, because of me. And I had to grow up, realize it wasn't, like, but if she would have said, Lorena, this is not your fault. I'm so sorry I yelled. It's just I'm having trouble with this. I'd be like, oh, okay,
Right.
that's reassuring.
Yeah.
So I want to, my kids to know what's happening, because then communication it gets better for everyone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. When I was growing up too, it was more of a, right, like this is a parent thing and we're trying to leave you out of most of these things, right?
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like you're the
You
kid,
never knew. Yeah.
and yeah, like you got whichever end of the stick, right? And you didn't know, like,
Yeah.
what was it me when, like, am I a bad kid? Like, did I do something or did they have a
Did I do
bad day?
something
That's
wrong? Yeah.
true. Yeah. Because it's not like they came and were like, well, I had a bad day. Exactly. Which is what I would do too. Now, yes, I'm like, oh, I need a moment. Or, hey, like a lot of times we listen to, my daughter's music in the car. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, today, mommy needs some mommy music. I really need to,
Yeah.
whew, give me a moment of grace here. I need something that kind of follows my beat and helps me right now. And then she's
Yeah.
like, okay, yes, we'll share. That's okay. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
On the way to the store, we listen to mommy's music, and on the way back, it's yours. Okay. She's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, it's a way
Goes.
of sharing all these like tools at the end. Like I have this song that it's an affirmation song because my daughter doesn't like to, I see these kids saying like, okay, I'm strong, and the kids go, I'm strong, I'm capable, and all this. My daughter hates that. I'm like, oh, you're strong. She's like, oh, stop saying that, stop saying that. So I don't have that with her, but I did find a song that's called Affirmations, and it's a very nice melody, and it says all these really nice affirmations. So when we're going to school or on the way, in the mornings, I always play that song. And I'm like, okay, you're getting your affirmations. We're, flowing with the music, and then you can choose a song and do something different. And I really think I started changing my playlists because I really think words have an impact in how we feel. And sometimes we like to listen to sad songs and, like all this because you need to let that out. But sometimes we just listen to songs that are like not very helpful. So I started looking for songs that are empowering and like
Mhm.
really lift me up. So when I'm having a bad day or when I'm having, a bad moment, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I can do this, So I'm doing that for my kids. And I hear her singing, like I'm brave and I love you unconditionally and all these things, all these beautiful messages that she sings now. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, okay, getting there somehow, it's great, and it's not coming from me, mommy saying, like this.
Right.
It's just like the message is passing through a different channel that it's not
I
just
was gonna
mommy
say you
saying.
packaged it
Yeah,
differently and it
yeah,
makes a
exactly.
difference. Sometimes they're
Yeah,
like, oh no, mommy, you have to say that. But if it comes from
yeah,
somewhere else in a book or in whatever
yeah,
format, then
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
it's different.
yeah,
Yes.
it's
Oh,
very
maybe you
different.
can
Yeah.
share that. I would like to put that in
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
notes or something.
I'll send you my playlist. You can just all the songs.
It's just in case somebody else is interested. But for
Yeah,
me,
great.
for sure, I would love to hear it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always,
for sure.
yes, trying to yeah, put some more
Put things in
positivity.
the, yeah,
But
exactly, in the
yes,
toolbox. Yeah,
whichever works. I mean, at least try it out, right?
yeah,
Yes. Because there's, yeah, some books, like we really love books. We love reading. My daughter,
yeah,
right? That's like a
yeah.
really
We did too.
a really good part of our day, like snuggling up and just bringing a book. But sometimes the book I'm like, oh, this is so great and empowering and such good messages.
I
I'm buying
know.
it, and then she's sitting there like, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't like that one.
Yeah, me too.
you
Oh
know
my God.
I'm
I'm
like,
like, but
oh,
it's such a
really? But
lovely
it's so
message. And she's like, no.
nice, it's so pretty, and it's so
And
okay,
she's no.
fine, let's find a
Yeah.
different one. But I have to say, I find, yeah, like in talking with her about the different things and stories and pictures, like I can still,
Yes,
throw
exactly.
some of those things in. And it's really,
Yeah,
just like how you package it. But like sometimes it's
exactly.
so
Yeah.
funny, like what she's attracted to. What I think, oh, this she's gonna love, and then she's like,
Yeah.
nope.
No. And then one book that they keep reading forever and ever and ever and ever, and
I
you're
know,
like,
and
oh
it's
my
like the
God.
silliest or whatever book, and you're like, oh, really? Why?
Again.
You like it so
But
much?
yeah, and then you have to like bring in, like you said, like little messages of how you see how brave she's being, or you see how he jumped really high, and like all these like empowering messages kind of like along until they know how to read, because then they can read the words. But till then you can still steer the stories a little bit.
That is so funny because I noticed that too. She sometimes, yeah, right, obviously gives it to daddy and he's just supposed to read it and he obviously reads it totally different than
Yeah,
I do. And
I
then she's
know.
like, no, no, daddy. And no, 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 mommy reads it. No, 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 read it like mommy does.
Yeah.
So there was a book where actually I put like sticky notes in because like I had changed it a little bit, so I had sticky notes
Ah,
instead
yeah,
of
that's
she could
good.
follow along. Oh, it's so funny because she started to notice and she's like, "No,
Yeah,
this is not how you read this book. Let me show
yeah,
you." And at some
yeah,
point she could like, she could
yeah,
read it,
yeah,
like she would
yeah,
remember
very good.
it,
Yeah,
right, and
yeah,
she could recite it basically. Oh, but it was so funny.
yeah, it is.
Ah, yes, yes, they're
Uh,
so smart. Grow up
they
so
are.
so quick.
Yeah,
But it's good to live different little tools, right? And try and
exactly.
right messaging.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Oh, this has been so great.
I know.
Oh,
We could talk for this. Like, I could talk about this forever. So,
yes.
but
Yes, definitely. Yes. And it's such a good topic. And, it's always good to share with some other moms because
yeah,
there's so many things out there. I always am happy to learn, try something new and learn a new tip, a new
yeah.
song, a new book that, worked well and things like that. So it's,
And I always say that something that might not have worked once might work later, and something that has been working great the next day it might not work. So
yeah.
having different tools and different resources can help you in those moments where, oh, this used to work really well and now it's not working. Well, let me try something new. This didn't work. Okay, well, maybe I keep it for later on. But it's good to have kind of like different things you can kind of like go to in
Yeah.
different moments. So yeah, I'm also always in like tools, things, tips, and then I put on the things I try, and like that didn't work. Okay, maybe later. Oh, well, this one worked really great. I was surprised. Like you never know. With kids, you never know.
Yes, yes. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I actually just tried out an app. I think it's called Balance, a Balance app. And the first year is for free. And it has like lots of little meditations, I guess, breathing
Mm-hmm.
exercises and things. And there's also a lot like towards kids, like,
Okay.
and it's before sleep or during the day, a midday reset and stuff. And
Yeah.
I just found her like wanting it too. Like at some point, I just kind of brought it to bed, because I
Yeah.
thought sometimes she has still so much energy, right? Like, oh, dear God, like I am ready to like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
And
Like
she's like, what? So I always try to find some ways of how can we, right, calm and
wind down.
get
Yeah.
into the state. But yeah, that was one thing that has really helped, and she's asking for it. She's like, can we hear Oposu? And that's the guy he's speaking the meditations and he has like a nice song. Maybe I'll try and share that. Like it's so, so nice, like a sleep song or something. And then we were both like
Yeah.
swaying there. It's like, I mean, again, whatever helps. Yeah, whatever helps. But yeah, it
Yeah.
switches too. Like sometimes it's bedtime stories. I don't know if you know the little moon wheels that you can put on your phone and then they
Yeah.
project, right? So sometimes she's really into that just because, it's a different form of the book, projecting
Exactly. Yeah.
it versus the regular book. But I mean, yeah, all
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. It changes.
It does.
And that's the thing about motherhood. You have to adapt and kind of like
Go with the
be
flow.
open to, yeah, to these changes. Because one day is, like flipping the switch. You have a new kid and like, you're like, oh my God, like, how did this happen? What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And being confident that you'll figure it out. Oh,
Yeah.
like we have that inside of us and we can always figure it out.
Yes, that's so true. Because it does change. I mean, it's just, yeah, like foods and stuff, right? Like with us too, like there's some things that, oh, right now I'm totally into, I don't know, mac and cheese. And, 2 weeks from now, I'm like, oh no, I just want the rice or whatever. And it's the same with,
Yeah.
yeah, other things too, like with kids too. And I feel like, yeah,
Oh,
we always were
yeah.
in the routine too. Like it was so hard when she was a baby. Like as soon as we were like, oh, now we have this new routine packed, then she was like switching it to something new. And we're like, just because
Yeah.
this was working.
And
And you
now it's
had
not,
to,
yeah.
switch it up again. But I
Yeah.
think it's just what it is. That's just life. And and it
Yeah.
embracing it, right? Going with the flow is what's, yeah, what you need to
Yeah.
do. Give yourself grace, and you'll figure it out. And but the changes get more bigger, I think, too, right? Like eventually they're gonna go to school, they're gonna go and move out of the house and things
Yes.
like that, and you need to let go more and more and more.
Yeah, you never stop, parenting your kids, I think.
Oh yes,
Well, I mean,
about that
if you had
too.
a good relationship with them, they will. My goal is, for them to keep coming back when they're older, and that I'm always a safe space. So, I do want them to come back when they're older and be like, "Hey, mom, I'm going through this. What do you think?" Or whatever it is. Like, I need a moment. I need just to let it out. Like whatever it is, to be the safe space. So every time I'm making decisions now, I'm keeping that goal in mind. Like I'm always your safe space. So how I want them to be with me right now so that they can, then come back to me and feel safe. So, yeah.
Oh, what a great reminder. What a good closing. Thank you so much, Lorena. That's so great. It was
No worries.
a
Thank
really
you
nice
for having me.
conversation. Yes.
Yes.
Feel like,
Well,
yes,
well,
maybe we'll come back at some point. We're going to have another one. Just
yes.
because I feel like, we're going to learn so much. There's so many good tools and tips to share.
Yeah.
But thank you
But
for,
yeah, thank you for having me. I loved it. And I love talking to you and sharing this because, yeah, moms need to share to feel less alone. So always have an opportunity to share and know that other moms are going through this. Other
right.
moms
Yes.
are going through the same things. You're not alone.
Yes.
Reach out because, it can be very, very helpful.
Yes. So where could they find you if someone wanted to connect with you? I'm
Well,
going to put it in the show
I'm,
notes.
yeah, I'm on Instagram. So my handle will be Lore, which is LORE.Alegre, which is, underscore J, but you probably write it down. It's easier
Yes.
to. I'm also on Facebook still, because you never know. There's still some of my generation that uses Facebook,
Yeah.
and maybe soon TikTok. I don't know. I'm still debating. It's a whole new platform, so I don't know. But for
Right.
now, Instagram, yeah. That's
Okay.
the way to go.
Instagram,
Yeah.
and yes. And yes, if you could share that link to that, I don't know, affirmation song, like that would be
Yes,
great.
I'll share it to
I
you, of
might
course,
throw
so
that in
you
there
can
as
share it
well.
with them. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you,
Aw,
Sandy.
thank you so very much. You have yourself a great day.
You too.